Welcome to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. I'm your host, Corey Graham. Join us here every Friday night at 8 p.m. or listen anytime via podcast at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, to name just a few. The Author Roundtable is sponsored by ReaderHouse Online Bookstore, where the independent new authors come first. The new book by author Renée Dunn is titled Spirit on Fire, and it's a collection of devotionals and biblical passages to help readers walk with Christ each and every day. The author, Renée, is sitting right here with me now at the show, and we get to talk all about this book. Renée, welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Renée, can you tell me all about what you've written in Spirit on Fire?
The book is it started years ago. It's just experiences that I had, and the Lord started dealing with me about writing them down and sharing them with people. So it's really devotional experiences that I've had in my life.
Renée, what kinds of readers do you think that this would connect with the most?
Mostly, I would say Christian people, but I'm trying to reach a broader people that don't really believe or don't understand about the Bible and the Word and the message. And when you have experiences and things that the Lord has showed you, and you share that with people and His Word with it, they're more likely to believe something that's happened.
So how'd this all come about, Renée? What gave you the inspiration to start on this?
The inspiration, actually, I had been sharing these little short, like Reader's Digest versions of these things on Facebook. And my nieces, they both told me, we believe you're going to write a book. And I just kept letting it go. For like 8 years, I just didn't do it. I just never thought of it. And then one day the Lord started dealing with me on it, and I started talking to Him about it. And I realized that maybe I needed to do that.
Have you ever done anything like this before? Written, published, anything like that?
Never.
So being that this is your first time at it, was this a long experience overall, the writing and publishing and everything?
It was very hard for me to do it. As a matter of fact, I had to really pray and fast about it because I'm not a writer. I'm not really an avid reader except for my Bible. But the Lord starts showing you things and you put it together. I know it's Him that's dealing with me on things, and it just makes it easier to write it.
So once you had your manuscript ready and you started working with your publisher, Covenant Books, what did you find to be the most challenging part about that publishing process for you?
Everything. Everything I tried to do came against me, and I knew that it was the enemy, so I just would pray through it. And really hard for me to express things and, to people. So it's easier for me, instead of talking about it, I can write about it. And then I had a friend that helped me, the one that actually she prophesied, she said, you're going to write a book. So she sat down with me and helped me. I couldn't have done it without her.
And I could only imagine what was going through your head whenever that first copy came in. You're holding Spirit on Fire in your hands for that first time, Renée. What was that moment like for you?
Oh, the only word I can say is surreal. I really couldn't believe it. And I wasn't really sure how I felt about it because I couldn't believe it. I thought, how did this happen? So I know it was all God. I give Him all the glory.
And so now it's official. You're a published author, Renée. What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
Reaching people, being able to reach people other than just speaking to someone day in and day out, just to be able to reach someone and show them how real that the Lord is, that He does deal with us each individually. And that's the way that we have to be ready for whatever He asks. So that's just reaching people, other people that I would never be able to reach beyond what I'm doing now.
Looking down the road, what do you say the chances are that you'll be doing this again, writing and publishing more?
Well, I do have something that I'm working on. And this book that I write, I'm waiting on the Lord to move on this because this is going to have people's names in it. I would probably have to get permission. And these are things that has happened in my life and other people's lives that only God can do. I mean, they are miracles, they are healings, they are things that I would dream about and would actually happen. So it's really going to be something else.
Well, it sounds like this book would bless a lot of readers. Again, it's titled Spirit on Fire. It's written by Renée Dunn. and published by Covenant Books. So pick it up at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Renée, it's been wonderful talking with you tonight. Thank you so much for coming on the show and telling me all about Spirit on Fire.
Thank you so much for having me.
Joining me right now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable is author Frank Saponaro. Frank, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Frank, you have a new audiobook out. It's titled Living Between the Lines, Seasons in the Sun. Can you tell me all about what readers and audiobook listeners are in store for?
Yes. Living Between the Lines, Seasons in the Sun is a snapshot in time in the life of a wildland firefighter, myself, who also was a special education teacher. The book is written in two parts. Part one introduces a young special needs student, Kenny May, and his shenanigans with me interacting with him in the classroom. And part two of the book is my seasonal job that immersed me into being a seasonal ranger and a wildland firefighter.
Frank, what kinds of readers or audiobook listeners do you think this would connect with the most?
Well, being an intermediate grade level teacher, I targeted independent as well as immersive readers at the intermediate grade levels, grades 3 through 6. I find that students at this age are curious about life and how other people live their lives. Readers also appreciate a lighthearted text where the characters are full of cheek and don't take themselves too seriously. And additionally, most readers in these grades, I believe, study their state history. And this book offers factual and historical information set in the San Luis Valley of southern Colorado.
Frank, what inspired you to write this? What gave you the idea to start off on it?
Well, I have to tell you, I initially wrote the first book for my twin boys to let them know what my life was like when they were just little squirts and their father would take off for seasonal wildland firefighting. So that's pretty much was the inspiration. And also, I'm an avid reader of children's literature, and one of my favorite authors is Jerry Spinelli. And his book, Maniac McGee, has a similar frame in that it's lighthearted, but it also has a very good message around that.
Frank, can you give me a little bit about your writing background and things like that you've done before this?
Well, like I said, I wrote a very short book called Living Between the Lines for my twin boys. I've never written anything except helping my students learn to enjoy the writing process and what that was all about. I guess after I retired from wildland firefighting and retired from teaching, looking at some pictures with nostalgia, I said, there's some stories here that I probably should share a little bit more beyond with my twin boys.
So once you started writing Living Between the Lines, Frank, was this a long process for you overall, the writing, publishing, the whole thing?
Well, it took me, the first book took me about 2 years. After that, the second book, Living Between the Lines, Seasons in the Sun, took me about 1.5 years. It comes and goes when the creative juices hit you and you're in the right mood. My third book, Living Between the Lines from a Distance, is a little bit harder trying to wrap up the third book of the trilogy. And so it's taken me a little longer to get that in progress.
So once you had your manuscript all ready, you started working with your publisher. What did you find the most challenging part about that publishing process for you?
I usually don't work within a framework. I'm one of these eclectic writers that probably is all over the place. And that's the hardest part for me to maintain a framework of the publishing process. Beginning, middle, end, developing characters, those kinds of things that I try to encourage in my students, but it was very difficult when I had to do it myself. So that probably was the most difficult part, was to stay within the framework of a publishing narrative.
Of course, we're talking about the audiobook edition. How difficult was it to find just that right voice that you were looking for it?
Well, I wanted someone, to be honest with you, who was kind of like myself, my voice, but with a little bit more polished publication and experience in publishing an audiobook. And I found the right person in the author that did the audiobook. He, I think, was the right mix between having a sense of humor and being a little dramatic when he needed to be. So that was a fun part in the process.
Again, this audiobook is titled Living Between the Lines, Seasons in the Sun. It's written by Frank Saponaro and published by the Audiobook Network. So head on over to places you usually get your audiobooks and you'll be able to find it, like Audible, iTunes, and Amazon. Well, Frank, it's been great talking with you tonight and learning all about your work. Thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you, Corey. Good to talk with you.
Sitting right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable is author Naomi Anderson. Naomi, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Naomi, you have a new book out, and it's titled, Still, Lord, Be Thou My Strength. Naomi, can you tell me what you've written about here?
Well, basically, it's a compilation of poems, and all of them are based on my own personal struggles and life experiences, especially since being diagnosed with lupus and all the ups and downs and health challenges that I've been through from 2012 up until the present day.
Naomi, what kinds of readers do you think this would connect with the most?
Well, we are living in a world where people are so downcast, overcome by the struggles of life, not necessarily just, health challenges, financial, emotional. And, it seems like in the world there's nowhere to turn for any type of comfort or solace. So in each poem that I've written, which is seeded with Bible texts, which are encouraging in and of themselves, it gives a person hope that despite what you're going through, there is someone you can turn to, and that is Jesus.
So what was your inspiration to write this? What gave you the idea?
What gave me the idea is my own personal challenges with my health. As I said before, I was diagnosed with lupus in 2012. And, when I was diagnosed, it seemed like all hope was lost and I felt like my life was over. I'm now dealing with a disease I'm going to have for the rest of my life. And what is it that I'm going to be able to do? So instead of, keeping myself in that negative frame of mind, I actually decided to beat my illness and actually use it as a stepping stone, to encourage other people who may be going through the same thing or even in a different situation. And even in that situation, knowing you can have the strength to get through any challenge that you face. And again, the focus is definitely faith and your strength that you can find in Jesus.
So when it comes to writing and publishing and everything like that, Naomi, is this all new for you or are you experienced in it?
I want to tell you that my love for writing started in grade school. I loved reading. Anytime I was missing from my parents' eyesight, I was always bound to be in a book. They used to call me a bookworm. And I used to write poems, just for fun. And, I realized that even as I got older, it actually was something that came naturally to me. And I decided to put pen to paper on a hospital bed, as a matter of fact. And that's where my first book was actually born, in a hospital bed.
So being your first time, was this a long process overall for you, the writing and publishing and everything?
I want to tell you that it seemed to go very fast because within a year, I had published my first book. And it was a very proud moment to see my copy with a book with my name on it, something I never thought could happen.
So now you're a published author. Your work is out there for the whole world. What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of this all for you?
The most rewarding aspect of it all is to know that my book is really a source of encouragement to someone else. And I've actually met individuals who said that they had family members who were going through problems and recommended my book to them. And they found comfort, in the words of the poems and the scriptures. And the friend herself said that she picks it up and reads it herself in order to be encouraged.
Well, Naomi, who or what would you say inspires you the most, especially when it comes to things like this?
My mom, God rest her soul, she passed 8 years ago. And if there's one thing I remember about her, she was always in prayer. And her faith drove her when it came to every aspect of her life. And I found that that's a legacy that she has definitely left for me. And going through lupus and now being on dialysis, having end-stage kidney disease as a result, I find that my faith is really what keeps me going as well.
Again, it's titled Still, Lord, Be Thou My Strength. It's written by Naomi Anderson, published by Covenant Books, and available pretty much everywhere, like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes, also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Naomi, thank you so much again for coming on the show. It's been really wonderful talking with you.
You are very welcome. I'm glad to have been here.
Sitting down with me right now here at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, I'm speaking with author S. Anthony Gomez. Anthony, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here with me tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Anthony, you got a new graphic novel out, and it's titled Lost. So can you tell me all about it?
Yeah, of course. It's a new graphic novel series. It's going to be a 7-book series, but book 1 we're just dropping now. Currently working on number 2 and getting the rest out soon. And it's going to be a fun-filled story. When I think you read the first book, you kind of see that it's very playful. It is a slight rendition of Wizard of Oz in a modern context. New characters that almost represent some of the old characters. So there'll be some familiarity in there. And a lot of fun because it's based on Wizard of Oz, really, or at least slightly. All of Wizard of Oz we remember as a great musical. So there are musical bits within my graphic novel, which I've never really seen a lot of graphic novelists do, but I wanted to have fun with it. And so you'll read through some pages and it'll break into a musical/poetry section to give the reader some fun spaces to read in there. Throughout the story, it's really just a story of feeling completely and utterly lost in a brand new world. And it's kind of a tell on our own society now of people that feel lost and unseen, unheard, people that feel disenfranchised, a world that feels broken. And that is what my whole story is really based on, and bringing all these characters to kind of come together and see what they can do once they unify in that world and really make a change for themselves.
Anthony, what sorts of readers do you think would be most into this?
Well, I'm really hoping that the teen base will really enjoy it. I've actually given it out to a lot of people in the teenage to 20-year-old age frame that really have been reading it and loving it. And I think anybody that's really into just looking at the world right now, people that are kind of watching the news or people that are kind of focused on society and where we're moving, I think they're going to really enjoy it because it is a satire of our own world mixed into this fictional world, as Laws tells.
So how'd this all come about, Anthony? What gave you the inspiration to start on it?
Well, there was a mix of inspirations, actually. Considering it is Lost, I was originally writing the script while struggling in my own life, living in a car, struggling, just going back and forth, trying to survive. And the story started coming to fruition just through drawing that together. I was going to school and had a project to do, and it started just kind of forming itself. And I started really writing a script for it more than anything, to tell my own story and to tell a fun story intermixed with this Wizard of Oz theme. And one of my best friends, thank God he did, a guy named Dain Ray Devon, a best friend of mine, had sat down with me and told me, I don't know why you're writing a script. You're an artist. Make a comic out of this thing. And thank God he said that, because it's exactly what I did. And ever since, I've been drawing it out and creating this whole series.
So is this the first time you've been published then?
Well, I've actually been published as an artist for other people's books. I've done a lot of art for an entire series of Montessori school books. I ended up doing about 32 books for them. I've done artwork for a bunch of different companies. I've even been an illustrator for a newspaper and done artwork for other people, paintings, murals, things like that. And this is the first time I've really gotten to dedicate an entire book to my own work. And that's something I'm really excited about.
So overall, was this a long journey for you? The writing, illustrating, publishing, and everything?
Everything has been a long road, and it has been a fun one, because just seeing it actually develop from the sketches coming out of the script to them drawing it, inking it, coloring it, after writing the entire thing, and then the publishing process, it's been a whirlwind, and I've been really enjoying the fact that I finally have the book out. People can flip through it, read it, hold it, take it home, and that's actually been something really exciting for me.
Well, this graphic novel is titled Lost. It's written by S. Anthony Gomez and published by Newman Springs Publishing. So pick it up at places like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or iTunes, and also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Anthony, it's been really great talking with you tonight. Thanks again for coming on the show.
It was so great talking to you. Thank you for giving me your time, and I really enjoyed this, and I just hope people enjoy the book.
I'm looking at a heartwarming and relatable story that celebrates the joys and challenges of school life. The name of the book is School Drives Me. It's written by Nkechi, Katherine, Ezeka, Kate Obodo, and she's right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We get to talk all about it. Kate, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Kate, can you tell me all about School Drives Me? What have you written about here?
Yes, School Drives Me is a true story about a 6-year-old girl, very smart. Yes, her name is Princess Ebube, who loves school so much. She enjoys talking about her teacher, classmates, and all the fun things they do. But even with that love, she struggles every morning to get ready. Like, she don't want to, prepare. The struggles that she don't want to stand up and do some things for her to get herself ready for school. She just want to go, get dressed up, eat, and go to school. So, but the focus here for her is for her to get up, pray, set her bed right, brushing her teeth, bathing, making her bed right, and prepare for school. Yes, but these were the things that she wouldn't want to do. And I see it, and I get it, that many kids like that they just want to just get prepared without doing something, but that is not life. Life is a good thing, just like I believe in catch them young. Yes, it's also important for us as parents or parents to see the joy of talking to them, because these kids, they don't know, but telling them to take steps. So it's a fun and meaningful story that shows how parents can lovingly encourage their children through daily routines, helping them turn small struggles into growth moments.
Kate, who are your target readers for this? Would you say young children?
Yeah, young children from, like I said, I like catching them young. It could be from maybe 10 months till 8, but, like teaching the child, but normally it should go from 3 to 8.
And so how did the idea for this come about? How were you inspired to write this?
So the idea, like I said, it starts with my daughter. Her name is Ebube. For full, her name is Ebube Chukwu, but to shorten it is Ebube. So Ebube means glory. Or when you put it together, Ebube Chukwu means glory of God or God's wonders. She used to do this every day. She comes back from school. She tells me, "Mommy, I love my teacher, the way she talks to me, the way she, corrects me so nicely like you." I'm like, oh my God. And I also love my friends who play a lot, like mannequin tag, we do a lot of stuff. But the next day, it's time for us to go to school, especially when the alarm clock set up. Then she'd be like, "Oh no, I don't want to go to school. Can I just wear my clothes and go?" So I was just like, no, we got to set our bed right. First, we're going to pray to God for waking us up. Then we'll also set our bed right. After that, we go to the bathroom and brush our teeth and shower. Because for me, I want my child to always shower every morning, because I believe, the way I was taught, when I was growing up, to, shower before you go to school, it helps, especially makes your body so calm. So I think that is what gets for me to also give it to my daughter. So for her, she doesn't, but when I keep telling her, at the point she started seeing the true meaning of what I really wanted in her.
Well, what a wonderful book. I think children and families are really going to love this. Again, it's titled School Drives Me. It's written by Nkechi, Katherine, Ezeka, Kate Obodo, and it's published by Christian Faith Publishing. So go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or iTunes or right down the street at your local bookshop and you'll be able to pick this up. Well, Kate, thank you again for coming on the show and telling me all about School Drives Me. It was really nice to talk with you tonight.
Thank you.
Author Troy Smith has written a collection of stories from his life that helped him to affirm his faith in the Lord. The book is called Unimaginable Moments of God's People. And Troy is sitting right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Troy, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Troy, can you tell me all about unimaginable moments of God's people and what readers are going to be getting into here?
All right. So essentially, I grew up just having an enormous amount of faith, and these are stories, basically a collection of stories that just outline how God has impacted my life by me having faith. And not all these stories are of me, but some of the stories are of other people who have experienced that same lifestyle and have just learned to lean on Jesus.
Troy, what kinds of readers do you think this would connect with the most?
Honestly, this can be for anybody who is either wanting to seek God, to know more of Him and see how He's impacting His people today. Or this can be for the lifelong Christian who just wants to hear a good testimony that God has done in somebody else's life. Who knows? It may help them in a struggle that they're dealing with or could be dealing with in the future.
So how did this all come about, Troy? What gave you the inspiration to start writing this?
This is actually a pretty funny story. So my wife says that I'm the biggest gabber on planet Earth, and I tell these stories to lots of people, and sometimes I've told the same story to my wife, and she's like, you know what? Instead of telling all these stories, why don't you just start writing them down? And so I got to about 25 stories, and I thought, good Lord, I've written almost an entire book. Why don't I just get a few more that I've got going on or that I've remembered? And after talking to several family members, I ended up with quite a few, so I went ahead and knocked it out.
Is this the first time you've been published then?
This is my first, although I have more in the works already, so stay tuned for that as well.
So once you got started on this, Troy, was this a long process overall for you, the writing, publishing, the whole thing?
Basically, this process took me about 2.5 years, so, basically trying to make sure that I was authentic in the story. Sometimes I would reach out to the person who was involved in the story with me just to try to collaborate and make sure that I was telling the truth about the situation. And I didn't want to leave anything that wasn't untrue, so that way I just wanted to make it sure it was authentic, so that way the only thing that was being told was my version of the events happening. So it took a long time, but I feel like I stayed true to what I was going after.
So once you had your manuscript ready, you started working with your publisher, Hawes & Jenkins. Troy, what did you find the most challenging part about that publishing process for you?
The waiting. Sometimes it can be a daunting task to go through editing, the manuscript, the page design, all of that stuff that, honestly, I'm so thankful that I did go with a publisher, because if I had to do all that stuff myself, it would have been a nightmare. And I don't know, I felt like the Lord directed me towards them. And so even though it has been a long journey, I'm actually so thankful that I have learned a lot through that journey, which I think has propelled me to write 2.5 more books since, which has been phenomenal.
And there's nothing like seeing that finished product. So when that first copy came in, Troy, it was in your hands finally. What was that moment like for you?
It was pretty surreal. I'm sitting here opening up the book, and my wife comes around the corner and she goes, "No way." And I said, "Yeah, it's sitting right here. Isn't that just crazy?" Honestly, one, you have to just give God thanks in that kind of a moment, right? And so it was like one of those, just thank God, that it all came together, right? But then two, it's like the published author moment where you're just like, wow, I'm actually a published author now. It really was just surreal, but I'll obviously give thanks to the Lord for getting me through that process as well.
Well, it sounds like a lot of people are going to be blessed and inspired by this book. Again, it's titled Unimaginable Moments of God's People. It's written by Troy Smith and published by Hawes & Jenkins Publishing. So find it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, Troy, thank you so much again for coming on the show. It was great to chat with you tonight.
Thank you again. I appreciate everything you guys do.
This book is an inspiring children's story that offers advice for young readers with big dreams. It's written by Julie Wiles, and it's titled Life's a Dance. We get to talk all about it right now here at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. The author, Julie, is here with me. Julie, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Julie, can you tell me what you've written about in Life's a Dance?
Yes, Life's a Dance is a children's story about a young girl, and her name is Reagan. And from the time she was little, Reagan just loved to dance. She loved dancing because it made her happy, and she felt free when she did it. And she liked sharing that happiness with others. Dancing was also a way for her to express herself. In the book, her grandmother, Mo, she called her Mo, gives her helpful advice on how she can live every day of her life really doing what she loves, whether she was dancing or not. And then through Reagan's journey, the book shares lessons about how to follow your passion and how to embrace challenges and finding joy in what you really love to do.
Julie, how did this all come about? What inspired you to write it?
Well, I started working in the preschool and public school setting, and I helped children that had difficulty with reading and writing. And as I sat with these children in small groups, I would come up with little silly sentences to help them with their reading and writing. And sometimes those sentences ended up together making a really fun story that was easy for them to read. And another thing, I also loved making up magical bedtime stories for my grandchildren and my children, and I would always use them as the main character in those stories. And I guess I was reflecting on that, and I had the thought of how precious it would be for me to give my grandchildren a book that I had written about them. And it was important as we played together and we had conversations together. I just tried to help teach them important life lessons that would help them along their life's journey in those stories. And you know what? I think I've learned, and I'm still learning as much as they did through those back and forth conversations.
Julie, have you done this kind of thing before? Do you have experience doing it?
I do not. This is my first ever published book.
Being your first one, was this a long journey overall for you, the writing and publishing and everything?
Well, not really. I started writing the book a couple of years ago, and the story with Reagan in it, I had it written pretty quickly. I wanted to write a book for each of my grandchildren, just showing some of those experiences that we'd shared together. And I wanted them to see the special gifts that they had through my vision and my eyes. It was so ironic because I met a lady, Cherie Pruitt, at a get-together that I attended with a friend. And just in the conversation, she mentioned that she was an acquisition agent for Covenant Books. And as we visited, I asked her if she knew of any resources that I could use to take my manuscript to. And all I wanted was just to have a couple of books printed, one for my grandchildren or Reagan and one for me. And she really encouraged me to think about becoming a published book author. And as I thought about it, it really didn't take me long to decide that the book I had written had a great message and would be a good book for children to read and have read too. And then actually, after my book was accepted by Covenant Books for publishing, it probably took about 18 months before I had an actual copy of my book in my hand and for it to be published.
So Covenant Books, that's a great publisher. Once you started working with them, Julie, what was the most challenging part of that publishing process for you?
Well, they made the process very easy for me. I had little stumbling blocks in being able to put my vision into their hands, like what I wanted the cover to look like, what I wanted the character to look like. And so I feel like that was the longest part of the process for me.
What a wonderful message in this book. Again, it's titled Life's a Dance. It's written by Julie Wiles and published by Covenant Books. So pick it up at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Julie, thank you again for coming on the show. It's been so nice talking with you tonight.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Joining me right now here at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable is author Dain Ray Devon. Dain, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here with me tonight.
It's a blessing to be here. Thank you.
Dain, you have a new book out. It's titled, What's Going On in Room 223? This is book one of the series Vermilion Ship Academy series. So, Dain, can you tell me what you've written about here in book one?
I come from a family of educators, and so I taught in schools as a substitute teacher and an IA. So this was a book dedicated to my mom, Diane Lee Taylor, and so this is where I wanted to write something to leave behind for teachers, substitute teachers, and either in the private sector or in the public sector.
So what got you started on this? How'd this all come about?
I was an IA for probably about 6 years or so, 4 years at Kitley Elementary School. So I really got close to some of the students as far as what their strengths and weaknesses were. So I wrote 25 poems to the kids. So I was like, maybe I should change the names of the students, but maybe I can start publishing these poems and write them into a book series. So this was kind of book one of the book series. The main character is Billy Abrasso. And so it's the last day of school. Some of the kids don't really want to go home because they form close connections with some of the staff. So that's how this book came to being. Was I had a student named Billy. He'd always give me a hug in the morning. So it's a good way to start off the day as an IA or substitute teacher. And so that's pretty much how it came to being.
Is this the first time you've been published then?
No, actually, this is really my third book that I published. I am also the author of What Does Christmas Really Mean to You? And also a celebration of the American flag under the name Dain Taylor. So this is really my third book that I published.
So for What's Going On in Room 223, was this a long process overall, including the publishing and everything?
As far as the illustration, it usually takes a year and probably 2 months, a year and 4 months or so, just because when you do the illustrations, you're pretty much writing two books, one for illustration and one for the manuscript, and then you combine it together. So it does take a while. So just making sure the errors are correct as far as the illustrations. And sometimes one change for an illustration can take around 4 weeks or so for the illustrators to finish it. So it is a long process. You're taking the illustrators and the writers, and you have to try to get them in one mind and one accord. It's really a group project.
So was it difficult for you to find just that right illustrator that you had kind of up in your head?
Well, I am a writer for Christian Faith Publishing, and so they offer us 12 different illustrators. But there's one illustrator that I got to choose that I liked her style very much, or his. Not sure what the illustrator's name is, but he or she does a very good job of portraying the characters. And I like his or her artistic ability. So
yeah, there's so much involved in that publishing process. We talked about the illustrations. Was there anything else that you found particularly challenging about the publishing end of things?
Just trying to make it as simple as possible. When I do my illustration notes, I usually put a picture what I like for it to look like. I also record myself on the YouTube. So I'm very, it has to be using my lesson plan ideas from teaching, has to be very basic. And trying to, I know what it's supposed to look like, but trying to have the other person, the illustrator, get the same idea. That's one thing that's always hard to do. But at the end of the day, when you see the final project, it's like, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like.
Well, what a wonderful book. Again, this is titled, What's Going On in Room 223? This is book one of the Vermilion Ship Academy series, and it's written by Dain Ray Devon. So pick it up at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or traditional brick-and-mortar stores. And of course, this is published by Christian Faith Publishing. Dain, it's been wonderful talking with you tonight. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you for taking the opportunity to talk to me.
The audiobook edition of the book by Stefanie Marcus, titled Adeline and the Very Bad Day. Well, the audiobook just came out, and Stefanie is here with me now. We get to talk all about it. Stefanie, welcome to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Stefanie, can you tell me what readers and audiobook listeners are going to be getting into with Adeline and the Very Bad Day?
Well, Adeline is a story of a little girl who, much like other little girls, have bad days. And then nothing is going right, and her mom tells her, well, you just got up on the wrong side of the bed. So she decides that after her nap time, which she's not happy about either, she's going to get up on the other side of the bed to see if that changes her day.
Stefanie, what sorts of readers do you think this would connect with the most?
Small children, probably kindergarten and under.
So how'd this all come about? What gave you the idea, the inspiration to start on it?
I've been writing children's stories since I was in third grade, and just through the years, it was always something that I wanted to do. And so I had written Adeline and the Very Bad Day and had it just kind of sitting on my computer for a few years until we finally got it published. So
is this the first time you've been published then?
Yes.
Was this a long process overall, considering the publishing and everything?
It took almost a year to get it published, get it through the publishing process and onto shelf.
So once you started working with your publisher, what did you find the most challenging part about that publishing process?
Probably the illustrations, because, you have in your mind exactly what you want, and I'm not an artist. I could not illustrate my book myself, and so trying to get what I had envisioned in my head onto paper through the illustrators was a little bit of a challenge. Not that it was difficult, but just I had to send it back a couple times and say, can you do this a little differently,
Of course, this is the audiobook edition, so was that difficult trying to find just that right voice that you were looking for?
My publisher chose that, so I didn't really have the input on who voiced it, but, I think that they did a great job, and I hope that the listeners enjoy it just as much.
And then it was an audiobook. You're hearing your own book being read back to you, Stefanie. What was that like?
Surreal, a dream come true, just something that I have felt has been a missing piece of the puzzle since I was a child, because it was always a goal of mine to write children's books and to be published. So, it's just, like I said, a dream come true and just surreal hearing someone read my own words back that I wrote for children.
And now that Adeline and the Very Bad Day is out there for the whole world, what would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
Friends and family being able to see my accomplishment and read my book and get excited and really enjoy it. Of course, strangers too, when they read the book and they enjoy it, I love that just as much. Really, anybody enjoying the book just is crazy awesome to me. And then to be able to have it on audiobook and also digital format as well, ebook, is just, it's amazing how many ways people can read these days.
So looking ahead, do you plan on maybe writing and publishing more, do you think?
Yeah, I've got a couple more that I have, again, sitting on my computer, and it's about Adeline again, and I really enjoy writing stories for children. My writing style is rhyming, so, I really enjoy that a lot. And so hopefully, I'll be able to get more stories out about Adeline and her adventures.
Well, again, this audiobook is titled Adeline and the Very Bad Day. It's written by Stefanie Marcus and published by the Audiobook Network. So go to the places you usually go for your audiobooks and you'll be able to pick it up, like Audible, iTunes, and Amazon. Stefanie, it has been wonderful talking with you tonight. Thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Gold Rush Palace is the name of the new book by Ted Draper, and it's a thrilling blend of mystery, history, and unexpected romance. Ted is sitting right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We'll be talking all about it.
Ted, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me tonight.
You're welcome.
Ted, can you tell me what readers are going to be getting into whenever they open up Gold Rush Palace?
Well, it has a lot to do with my history in life. I've experienced so many of those out-of-this-world experiences that I thought, well, I'll put this together with this story. As I went along in the story, I started using a lot of my experiences that I've had with hereafter, the ghost worlds. I've had numerous experiences and contacts, it seems like. And so I just started writing it, and I had to redo it several times. It took me, quite some time to, really get the thought process. But this book has an ending unlike anything else I think you've ever read. I'm not going to tell you because many of the people will want to skip to the ending to find out. But they have to read the book first and then figure out the ending, because the ending is not too evident if you don't read the story. And so I've created a kind of like, well, what the hell happened here? It has a lot to do with my way of presenting a story that has, it leaves the best part for the last. But you got to read the book to find out how this works. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at with the book. And it's kind of like I had a great deal of time to think about it and put it down on paper and then have it printed.
Ted, what sorts of readers did you have in mind for this?
It's not for the child, and it's for people that have a love for romance, and it's a different kind of romance. I'm not going to go into that, but it's a lot different than you might expect. People that would like a little bit of the hereafter, the spiritual world, as you might say. It has drama in it, and it has a love that grows into the story as it goes along. I'm not going to get into that because it tells you the story, too much of the storyline, but it's for everybody.
What does your writing background look like, Ted? Do you have a lot of experience doing this kind of thing?
Yes, I've been to different haunted houses and have been part of the mystique of the hauntedness. I've had pictures taken we were in this one haunted house, and this image was right behind me as they took the picture, and I have it. It's an interesting thing. I've been in several cemeteries, and I got that creepy feeling that someone was with me. And it's not that I can reach out and touch them, so to speak, but it's right there next to you. And I've had several of those. I went into an old hotel, which was deserted and haunted, and I was sitting in this chair on the balcony, and all of a sudden I have this feeling there's two people next to me. It is the most creepy feeling you'll ever have, to have that closeness to something that you can't touch, you can't experience. And that's one of the things in this book I've put in there, is that creepy feeling about knowing somebody or something is right with you. And it kind of gets your interest, the reader. Everybody that reads it says, wow, where'd you get this idea? It's just fun. It's a fun story, and you have to read the ending, because there's a lot of clues throughout the story about the ending, which if you don't read, you're not going to find them.
So looking ahead, do you plan on writing and publishing more?
Well, I'm working on one now called The Life and Times of Ted Draper. It is about my life and all the different things that have happened to me in my lifetime. Almost come to terms with death in one part of my life, and then excitement in other parts of my life, the Marine Corps in another part of my life. Lots of different things have added in to make my life really meaningful. I've traveled the world. I've became a minister and married people here on my property, and I've have a full rounded experiences with many circumstances that I can use to put in other books as well.
Well, again, this book is titled Gold Rush Palace. It's written by Ted Draper, and it's published by Christian Faith Publishing. So head on over to places like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or iTunes or traditional brick-and-mortar stores, and you'll be able to pick this up. Well, Ted, thank you again for coming on the show. It was nice talking with you tonight.
Nice talking with you.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. We hope to see you back here every Friday night at 8 p.m. or listen anytime via podcast at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, to name just a few. The Author Roundtable is sponsored by ReaderHouse Online Bookstore, where independent new authors come first.